logo burst. Let them know we're serious. And, uh, and then while people trickle in, we'll talk to them about this new cool program we have going on for New York educators. Everybody enjoy yourselves with a little clip here.
Empire State educators.
Oh yeah, well edited.
Thinkering collective. We up. One sport, one school, one dream project. That's you from the Bronx to the Falls, from the island out east to the North Country halls. You got visions, we got route maps. You got students, we bring impact. It's your turn, step through. History waiting on you. Hey, get New York inspired. Stand up, raise that fire. You got the ideas, we got the movement. New York inspired. One voice, one choir. You got the ideas, you got the movement. Hey, get New York inspired. Empire hearts run higher. You got the ideas, we got the movement. New York inspired. Call every district higher. You got the ideas, we got the movement. Hey, one leader, each district.
Hi, it's always good when you're live and your children walk in the door with your dog. Hold on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hi,
yeah,
it's me, Noah. Nice to see you, Jim.
yeah. So Noah, why
Yeah.
don't you first, while I'm checking to see if things are rocking and rolling here, which I believe they are, which they should be. Let's see. Yeah, I think we are good. We have the live chats going. People talk to us. Let us know what's going on. What questions do you have for Noah? We'll get there. First things first, this is brought to you once again by Thinkering Collective. My name is Jim McGuire. I am your favorite thinker's favorite thinker from the Thinkering Collective. With me here is the one and only Noah Daniel, with more accolades than I could list. She's amazing. I'll let her introduce herself. Noah, tell us who you are and why you're here.
I'm a teacher, and that is everything that you need to know about me. I'm here specifically today to talk about the 5th anniversary of my children's book, Strum and the Wild Turkeys, and all the events that are happening on Strum Day on April 30th, which is the day of our publication.
So, Strum Day, what's happening? What are we doing to celebrate that?
Well, this year for Strum Day, we're going to rock around the clock. So I'm doing free readings at 4 different intervals around the global calendar for one day. And what's so exciting about that is that one of the things that makes this book so interesting and engaging for me, not just for people listening or kids who have it at home, is that the themes of inclusion, belonging, and the power of music get to be lived through those author visits. So what I love to do is I'll introduce the song, which I wrote actually into the book, but then it became an actual song recorded by artists. And I do a little bit of conversation around the images in the book and how the characters were created. But you said something off screen that was really interesting. And in many ways, this is a metaphor for what we do at Thinkering, because I had an idea for a children's book, even though I was commissioned to write it based on a real event. But when it came to the illustrations, the process itself really showed me how much writing is thinking and creative development long before the words are on the page. And for me, as an educator, picture books are one of those incredible things that remind you they're not just for reading, they're for conversation, they're for questioning, and they're for connecting with yourself and each other. And so this day, Strum Day, is a day that celebrates you. And I'm so excited to have people come and get on that celebrate yourself kind of bus.
So, how do you even come up with Strum Day? How does it even come about, the celebration?
It's really funny, actually. The first year, like on our first launch anniversary, I wanted it to be really about those themes of inclusion, belonging, and music. And then as I was doing it, I realized there is no day where you get to celebrate yourself. You might celebrate your birthday, so that's something where you're aging and you do that whether you choose to or not. But actually, like having a day that says you rock who you are and everything that makes you unique, that didn't exist. And so in a perfect world, everybody would celebrate Strum Day, or Strum Day would be every day. But really, to have a day set aside where you get to talk about, crystallize those things that make you unique and feel secure enough to be yourself. These are lifelong pursuits and something I'm so happy to be in conversation about.
With like the idea of celebrating yourself, I love that everybody getting to, you know, take their plume and, you know, put it out there and, you know, show their different patterns and what makes them them. Music, I think, is like the common denominator with just baseline acceptance of people. Like it's the way we can talk about who we are and see like who other people are. What made you realize that that had to be the kind of language spoken between the pack?
Well, it's funny actually, because when I was commissioned to write this story, it was a real event that happened on a ranch. And when this lost peacock became like the lore of the ranch, it reappeared a year later, not just alive, but leading a pack of wild turkeys. So I was looking for the common thread. And I've said this to you before, but for those of you seeing it for the first time, I happened to be writing a TED Talk that was supposed to be in September, and then it got moved to February. And so when I was asked to write this book originally, I was like, guys, I can't, like, this is a bucket list item. I need to focus on this. And then when it got moved, because my TED Talk was about music, I was like, let me see if there's something about music. And when I realized that the common thread wasn't just the universality of music and how that connected these wild turkeys and this peacock, but I realized that it was one of those great universals that could bring everybody together. And I'm going to actually show it to you because it's so cool. When you hear an entire school of students singing the song, Different is Good, it's life affirming. So I'm going to just play it for you. I mean, that. So, I mean, when Sunshine and Broccoli thought it was going to be an anthem and they took my tune and they really rocked it out. I mean, I get to stand on stages and sing the song from the book. I get to read the book. I get to talk to people of all ages about what that musical connection can be. And that went back to my first podcast because I did the Personal Playlist podcast, which is a project that comes from my classroom. And my intro song was Sir Duke. So that, like, music is a world within itself with a language we all understand. And I think that there's a lot that we can unpack in the classroom related to music. And certainly I started imagining like 100 different books in this series, and they're all kind of start and end in concert. And so there's a song for each one. And I've written a whole bunch of them, but I love it so much. And I'm so excited. I can't believe it's been 5 years, but this Strum Day, I hope, you know, everybody that's watching or has a chance to sign up, if you go to bit.ly/Strum Day, capital S, capital D, 2026, you can find a sign up and you can sign your class or your household up for a time slot and you can join the celebration.
Like my favorite thing about the world you've created is imagining myself going around in it and visiting the different spots and seeing the different concerts and all of that. Do you have the world map next to you?
Yeah, so in the book itself, actually, and hopefully your copy is coming to you, but we put the map in. And when Alana McCarthy, who is a crazy talented artist, not just illustrator, came onto the project, this was before we even had a publisher. And we got on an ATV and rode around this very real place. And I got to make up the concert venues. Like, dude, I'm going to play the Orchard tomorrow night at Bass Lake. Like, there's so many ways that they can tour these different locations. And that was kind of the invitation for this just to be the first one in the series. And who knows one day what will come. But as a teacher, getting to talk about it with pre-service teachers, to look at how stories unfold. It's not just the writing part of it, but how do you take something that seems so simple, oh, it's a picture book, and imagine that's a project you want to do at Thinkering, to really think about what can be involved, how many decisions can be made, how much an element of the design process can be in just creating a single character. So it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit with Andrew Wilson. He in Ottawa Catholic. He had this idea. I think it was first graders, and they wanted to do turtle conservation. So they learned about turtles, and their project ended up being, well, let's create this coloring book and student-led characters and everything. And just seeing what went into that, I can't imagine taking it to a whole world where there's plots and all of that. It sounds like a lot of strings that you're pulling at the same time. How do you take this giant world and vision and then bring that into actionable steps that you can bring to life for that educator who has that idea or spark and they want to get it into a book somehow? How do you take that giant vision and turn it into something actionable?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question because mentorship plays a huge role in that. And sometimes we call mentorship only things where there is the title mentor or mentee. But if mentorship is about learning and growth, then there are lots of people who can help you. So, like Alana had said to me, all right, Noah, what do these characters look like? And I'm like, well, and I can use words. I love to write, but the words were not translate. Can I show you a couple of things actually? So the very first drum she came up with was this one, because I was trying to explain that he's awkward and his plume was imperfect and he played it as opposed to making sounds through, his fanning his feathers. And so she was like, well, what about this? And I was like, no, 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 no. And then she was like, what about this? And I was like, no, no. And then she asked me if I could make a Pinterest board. And I'd never made a Pinterest board, but I made slides all the time. So I started to channel actual real people into the conversations on what the characters would look. Do you mind if I share something with you? Okay, I'm going to do some screen sharing for a second. Okay, so this, for example, is who Strum was built on. So I sent her a picture of Finn Wolfhard because I was just starting to watch Stranger Things with my daughter, and there was something about him, and he was in the band Calpurnia, and that felt really right. And Timothy Chalamet, and this was before he was Timothy Chalamet, but he was like, there's something really cool and awkward about him. And when she found Strum, like in the picture, once she had this, I was like, oh my God, now look at Timothy's eyes. And so she had more of that like mischievous look. And the evolution of the character really came because I was able to point to other people. So you see that here. I'll show you how when she was coming up with Cut, who is the leader of the Wild Turkeys, she kind of had like, is he like a tough guy? And I was like, no, 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 he's like a rock and roll dude. And so when I was giving her like some of the great drummers, and she was like, oh, I get it. So it really was an interesting process for me. We got to Gobble, and like Gobble has like this foghorn leghorn thing, but also David Grisman. So it was really important that he played the electric mandolin. And this was a shout out to the guys who commissioned me to write this and their grandfather. And like, even just looking at every expression, it's such a cool thing what artists do. And imagine like if you got to work even on a team to create this, and you had, students who were visually inclined and students who were, language inclined and linguistically driven, you could really do a lot. And then, so this was Kiki. And honestly, like, Alana got Kiki in ways I can't even describe. Like, I couldn't have imagined Kiki like this, but that's who they are. And then with Yelp, the funniest problem was Yelp's hair. The first like 20 version of Yelp had like very thick, like almost geometrically shaped hair. And I'm like, Stevie Nicks, man, like it's gotta be flowy. And so she had like the feathers in your hair vibe, but actually hair of feathers. So that was just she's just so clever, and there were so many aspects to what she did. And the first time she sent me the lineup so I could see all the characters together, I could see the story in all these new ways, and that inspired me right back to do more things with it. So this is what that would have looked like. And then we talked about secondary characters, and they kind of came into play in the story. And if I ever get to write the rest of the series, they'll come into play again. So there's a lot of different things that happen in here. And I just want to go just forward to one of the pieces of this.
If I ever get a cameo, I want it to be like a guest part of the herd. I want to be
Okay.
part of the doo-wop group and like the big bass. Bow.
Oh, I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
we should talk about that.
Yeah. We will.
When I get to sign books that these are the themes, I do everything I want to do as a teacher, as a writer, as a person who believes that every child should not just graduate school with academic skills, but should have a deeper sense of themselves. And that's why I love doing like unpacking the story with older students too. Like I'll do a reading, and the kindergarten class and the grade 1s and 2s and even the 3s are so excited, and they'll go and they'll draw characters or they'll make their own version of the story. But when you really get to look at composition with grade 4 all the way up through university, you get to look at how layered composition is, and how so often, you know, it's the play part of creation. Same with Thinkering. When you kind of let yourself go, amazing things can happen. Okay, I can stop sharing now.
I love it. I really like the energy. Like people don't know this, but this live stream spawned because Noah and I were just talking, and then she just started running to the closet and like showing me stuff, and I was like, "Oh, we got to show the world this. This is too cool." What was the first big like hurdle? Because you just showed me just infinite pivots in different directions. What was the first big like hurdle in that you encountered in putting this together?
I think for me, the biggest hurdle before even EduMatch came in as the publisher was the creative freedom. Like I had had 2 children's books published. I was never going to do it again. And I respect publishers so much, but I really wanted more creative control. And that doesn't happen when you're an author, sometimes more so when you're an author illustrator. So I was given carte blanche. I had to approve every image. So as freeing as it was also daunting, because I was going to make all the mistakes as much as I was going to drive this project. But in driving this project, these incredible opportunities just kept coming, and they still do.
When earlier you spoke about the project being commissioned, is there like a story behind what brings somebody to commission a book?
These guys were just like really fun guys who had this vision about giving out Strum of the Wild turkeys to every person who came to the ranch. And I was fine to do that until I wrote the story. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm really, really sorry. So can I share my screen one more time?
Always.
Always. Okay. So as a teacher, I was like, I have a vision for the story. I know what I can do with it. I want to make a website that goes through the curriculum and gives people ideas. I want to have a creative corner like when I was a little kid, where, you know, students could send in pictures, like ideas, songs, visions that they had. And I really was able to kind of take it to like that holistic experience of creating not just a single story, but a whole world, kind of like what you were saying. So in creating the world, I also got to create a whole bunch of things, and I got to talk to kids all over the world about what it felt like to read the story, and that kind of just brought me back in. I think I just lost your question. As I get excited, sometimes I lose the question. So ask me again.
As a poor host, I don't ever remember the questions that I ask. I think we were talking about hurdles and pivots.
Oh, hurdles, yes.
Yeah.
So, but then the next hurdle was, you know, can I get this published? And I was very lucky that EduMatch said yes. Like I didn't have to go anywhere else. So then that was the next hurdle. But then marketing, like nobody talks to you about marketing your book. And I can create content, but I really still don't know how to get things out there. And I have these conversations and I realize that there's so much more I could unpack in the story. So some weeks I write about Strum and the Wild Turkeys, some weeks I write about other things. But because I'm very excited about Strum Day on April 30th, I'm really hoping that this is an opportunity for people who maybe haven't heard of the story, don't have a copy of the book, to come out, bring their students, invite their questions, get them to rock their differences. Even in just the illustrations, I do a picture walk at the beginning. And one of the things that Alana taught me is about how much you can learn about people by looking at them. And, you know, if we're talking about well-being, which I'm always talking about, right? Like there are ways that we wear our emotions that would really help to promote our emotional intelligence and how we connect. So the social emotional learning aspect of this story, the music, the messaging, the activities, like it keeps drawing me in. I hope it draws you in because I'm excited about what I can continue doing, even if the book is never more than one single book, because it's always more than just one single publication.
It already like lives rent free in my head because like when we were talking, I was telling you where I would like set up my camp and I would be fishing at this part of that lake when I was looking at your map and stuff. I still think about that. And then like I got to be a cameo in your book. So ladies and gentlemen, we're making it happen.
Okay, put it out there. I would love to make it happen. Like sometimes I let myself write a story. So, you know, I have these different ideas of things that I can do. And one of the things that's really important when you're writing a children's book is you don't want to shove the message down somebody's throat. So what was neat about Strum being like this singer, he finds his voice, he sings different as good out kind of into the wilderness. And that is what draws the wild turkeys to him. It was him finding his voice and they're like, okay, we want to jam with you. And I think about instead of hitting people over the head with that, you see the subtleties of it as much as you see the power of it. And when you hit that final page of them all on stage together, I feel that you feel it. But I start the second story right after that. And Strum goes through this dilemma of like, okay, well, I got inspired by all these negative things that happened to me. How do I get inspired now? And so he hangs out with each of the band members. And through that, we get to know them and we get to see what inspires them. And what's so interesting coming back to Thinkering is there are 1,000 different ways you can go with the project and what it means to go become a fellow. And there are so many ways that this story could continue and unfold. And there are so many ways that how students use this story could become, you know, this incredible catalyst for so many other things. So everything kind of comes back to the freedom to be yourself and to rock your differences. And if this book can start a conversation about what that means, then that's good enough for me too.
I think it does that because my natural instinct when just learning about the universe and the world is like I want to contribute to it, and I want to like I want you to beg the question, hey guys, what's happening next? So I can be like, oh, they're going here and there, and these people are coming to jam, and then the fox hears it. It's such a like fun little world that just has endless possibilities. I guess Strum has to go on a hero's journey that requires a little bit of testing of personal character and will and overcoming odds. You know, having been in a band, multiple bands myself, there's always that you're brought together by the music, but then there's like the personal things that also you're still human beings and that takes you separate ways, but the music brings you together. What kind of conflict does Strum encounter with the wild turkeys?
Well, I think that there are layers of conflict in the story. The first one being that he is rejected by his actual family. So he has this found family. And even in understanding what that means, there's conflict. I think that there's conflict in, how you wear your emotions and how you like the difference between how you show up and how you want to be, and conversations around how music can help you uh, crystallize your thinking around it and identify some of the key things to work on. But the thing that's so profound about a band is that everybody brings something, but the music is greater than the sum of the parts. So yeah, you can hear each individual voice through the instruments, but it's the collective experience and then add on the audience experience. And that's the thing that really takes it further, because there's conflicts in, okay, I'm too tired. We practiced too much and I don't have it anymore. Like, there's subtle conflicts, but one of the things we were really sure about when we were talking about the map, and I'm just going to come back to it, is there's a lodge. And so there are guests who come to stay at the lodge. So like Moose Mellow, who's a DJ who loses his vibe, Strum helps him find the beat again. And, we learn about some of the conflicts that happen when you don't have ideas, or some of the amazing things that happen when somebody says one line and you can't get that one line out of your head. Like, that's actually how I started being that's not true. I've been writing books my whole life, but my second book that was published was actually the first book that I showed to the publisher, who was like, wow, you're really interesting. Do you write? And my grandfather had been checked into a facility because his Alzheimer's and his dementia was causing a lot of problems for my grandmother. And the only thing that helped me on the way home was the mantra, old timers, Alzheimer's, old timers, Alzheimer's. And I got home and I couldn't get that line out of my head. And then I had stickies all around my apartment that became the book, because you never know when a single line becomes the beat and the lyric of a song, or that single line becomes the thread that joins everybody together. So I think that many conflicts can happen, but the conflicts are not what undermines it. The conflicts are opportunities for character building and to highlight some of the beauty of what it means to be in community. Also, something that all this thinkering, I'm so happy that you threw it in there. I wish I had had more time to come up with all the parallels, because there's so much power in that community experience. And when we know what everybody's doing in that community, we have that collective feeling. And I watching it grow, how being part of Thinkering is being part of a community where every voice really matters and there are opportunities for every voice. And coming back to that mentorship idea, there are so many subject matter experts and people to reach out to. So I used famous people to try to be the medium to help Alana understand the illustrations, but it actually helped me to articulate what made each character who they are.
That was the perfect Thinkering ad. So we'll cut the little promo there. No, but speaking of like the connections across the collective, like you're talking about that one line, and you never know where that inspiration is gonna come from that one thing. And Lori Gann tells that funny story about her book, Put the Pickles in the Dishwasher. And it was like such a funny thing that somebody was just like, saying something and it just came out of their mouth when they were just talking, and just such a funny thing that just spawns like those creative moments. And you know them kind of when you find them, but you really don't know where it's gonna go. But that moment kind of hits, and there's a reason why it's pinging in your head, at least for
I
me.
feel like we can give that freedom to students. Like, we can give them an outlet for those things that are reverberating in their minds, and we can create opportunities in all these different modalities. Like, it doesn't have to be go create a picture book. It can be, what ideas does this spark for you, and what story would you tell? And then play it out with what medium would you use to tell it. And that's what's so interesting about the two-dimensional book happening in a really four-dimensional space, because there's so much in this actual ranch. And Strum will forever be me and I will forever be Strum. But one of my favorite things is that every child that I've ever read this book to sees Strum in them. And that connection and that idea that who you are and being who you are is part of your life school, that's another really beautiful outcome of this story.
That's such a beautiful thing too, and such a compliment to you, for the world you're building, really, because you've left enough of a blank slate where everyone could put themselves in the character, but then also such a defined character that we all see it and gravitate towards it and want to be part of us as well. So it's really that perfect blend. I didn't realize it till you said it. Like, kudos to you. That's
Thank you.
super awesome. So when we look at, like, we've got idea, we want to get it on book and paper, like, cool, great, but there's a why behind it, and yours is, like, inspire, start those conversations, get people thinking about, self-belief and enjoy finding themselves and identity. um how do you tie all that into, like, classroom? And it's not just like, here's a book, here's a story, but how do you tie that into, like, standards that you have to hit?
Well, I think that's about creating multiple entry points. So you could use this book as a one-off and it wouldn't help you achieve any of those things. It would be a nice story, but you could use this book to talk about the process of writing and you could hit every single expectation across literacy, across all of the transferable skills. So it depends on how you approach it, but in the same way that you said that everybody can have access to it, we create the world that we've now set up, but there everybody's welcome there. Everybody has a place and everybody can put their unique mark on it. So I think that's really universal design for learning.
What do you think is the coolest thing you've seen somebody use, like, the Strum universe, for,
Oh,
like, outside of your intended purpose?
well, that's the thing though, like my intended purpose changes depending on the context. Like,
Right.
so whatever they bring that I don't expect is wonderfully surprising. And I am as inspired by the students or the people in the audience usually that I am um, by the own things that come to my brain.
What are some of the favorite things that you've seen?
I've seen people create songs. I've seen people like,
I
um,
created songs.
yes, you did. The Strum soundtrack has changed forever in my mind, and my family thinks it's amazing that you did that. And it was such a fun way to talk about, AI and how. But that's another thing. Like, in a world of AI, how do we humanize writing, and how do you know authentic voice? And so it's good to have mentor texts that have these rich stories. And I think I've seen people create maps that have worlds. I've seen people create videos and imagine songs, and I've seen dances get made. I mean, there's so many different things. And of course, in a perfect world, there would be a dance to every single Strum song, to every single book. So I'm just going to keep imagining and hope that that's how it goes.
We'll keep going down the rabbit hole. What's your favorite Strum dance? Let's see it.
Okay, I can't do the dance. I can sing you the song. So it's dance to the rhythm of the peacock shuffle. Get moving every single muscle from your head to. Anyway, yeah. So I have this vision for a song that goes to that because there's like I don't know, somebody from a Latin country comes to visit the ranch and talks about how essential movement is with music. And you're not learning explicitly, oh, well, you have move, but there's something about movement in it. And then this character does the peacock shuffle. And then the peacock shuffle, of course, becomes a new hit on TikTok and everybody's doing it.
Okay, I gotta, as a bass player, the drummer, he keeps the beat, but the bass player is what makes you dance, right? So he's gotta be a bass player. I'm just throwing that out.
Okay.
He's gotta be a bass player. And maybe some, like, egg shakers.
Oh
That's like
yeah, well, Yelp's all over the percussion. Like she really enjoys that. And in that second book where you learn where everybody's inspiration comes from, it really talks about how creativity isn't something that you explicitly teach. Creativity is something you nurture, and you show in a classroom all the different ways that people can be creative.
What's the hardest takeaway when you go through all this big process? Like, I imagine there's kind of like some emptiness when you're done a little bit. When I read a book and I close the final page, there's kind of a sadness. What's that like as the author?
I think for me, and this was why I was never going to publish again, is the finality of something published. It's just like it has to be what it is. And even though you might want to change it 100 times, like my first book that was actually published was Crazy for Canada. And there were so many things I wish I could do differently, especially like when you would read a review, and even though the reviews were very good, they would have this critique and be like, I know, and I can't change anything about it. So that's a tough one about that whole process. And so when you're done, it's about like, what does done look like, and when is done enough, and all of that, which can be really difficult. But I think what I'm learning about myself is I'm never really done. And that's part of who I am. Always the process of being and becoming.
No, that is awesome. What else do we want to throw out there? Is that a good way to end it?
Dude, let's end it and say, come out to Strum Day 2026. Sign your class up, sign your family up. Come out, let's sing a song together and share this book and share this vibe, and send me any questions you have. I'm happy to answer them.
All right, we'll kick it off with the final Noah Daniel outro song. I like this one. Everybody links in the description. Noah Daniel seems probably good.
She has got a spark lighting up the way.
I wish I actually played an
Breaking the rules never stays cliche.
It never stays cliche.
Building outside the blocks day by day.
Look it up on Substack, folks.
Who is she? Who is she?
You're looking at her.
She's the voice, she's the flame, changing the game. Noah Daniel.
All right, everybody. Noah, we love you. All right,
Thank you
bye.
so much for this time. Bye.